right, good to see you, everybody. Today we have more Legacy on the calendar, and this deck, Sneak and Show, won a challenge very recently, so I thought it would be kind of cool to give it a whirl. Last time I played this deck was in my boss battle against Potion Roll, where I played I think it was 2010 version. Before Gristleband was printed, I played 4 Woodfall Primus. Definitely go and check that out if you haven't already. So what can we say about this deck? We're kind of playing the usual suspects here of, fast acceleration from Soul Lands and Petal. We're running the cantrips, we're running 4 show and tells for sneak attack, and then the kind of usual payoffs here with 4 Atraxa and 4 more legends in the form of 3 Emrakuls and a Gristlebrand, and then a couple of Omniscience, which is basically a card that lets me, show and tell into play Omniscience, then cast a creature and kind of go off. It just gives the deck another angle, a way to beat Karakas, stuff like that. Then we have a couple of One Rings for threat density. Play that card out as a must counter, otherwise it's going to run away with the game. And then my favorite part of the deck is looking at these 2 copies of Vexing Bauble and 2 Veil of Summers, both of which are, I would say, ways to beat Force of Will, basically. Vexing Bauble could be like a defense grid, could randomly hose some decks. Veil of Summer, like, great against discard spells, does the trick as counter backup. But let's see about that. Maybe the mana is going to be too hard, with me needing red for Sneak and green for Veil. Let's see about that. There's a little Beseiju, cheeky Beseiju here in the mana base. Could come in handy. Sideboard looks like we're addressing Eldrazi, we're addressing Graveyard, we have a little something here against Hate Bear / Artifact decks, couple of Magus for the cheese, couple of Abrades for more, Spud removal / Artifact removal, couple of Pyroblasts, not overloading on that effect, but still kind of cool, and then Carpet of Flowers against what I would guess is the worst matchup when we're playing against, the Grixis, Delverless decks, blue-black, fair versions, stuff like that. Carpet of Flowers is really a card that just makes, Wasteland and Days become irrelevant. So I'm pretty excited to play this deck. I think this deck strives in metagames without too many, Days decks and without too many, other combo decks, basically. So once you kind of find a metagame with a lot of, Eldrazi's or Nadu decks or whatever, this deck doesn't play against as much resistance, and you can kind of goldfish and be faster than those decks. So that's what we're going for today. Let's see if that comes to fruition. All right, round 1, I'm playing Sneak and Show. I'm on the draw here, and I have a kind of a weird hand. I have a turn 2 Show and Tell Emrakul. I don't think I'm supposed to mulligan this, but I'm also very aware that this could easily backfire and or, just get countered and not do anything. 5 mana sources really is a lot here. Let's see. The opponent's going to have 2 turns before I even cast the Show and Tell. This is kind of where we're hoping for a matchup that lines up well with what we're doing. So funnily enough, here's Vexing Bauble, which delays me here. Now I'm on the lookout for, I was about to say I would fetch that land, but we drew it instead, so I guess we play it out. Ponder or a random card. I think Ponder is fine. Vexing Bauble was a very, very annoying card here. So let's see. The opponent Wastelands, cast Map. Okay, so we're up against a deck where Show and Tell could be incredibly dangerous to cast. I feel like I should just go Island here and not give my opponent, the option to keep wasting. So I'm up against some kind of Cloudpost deck, I'll assume, which makes Sneak Attack a good card. So let's see. Does that deck play Thought-Knot Seer? I don't think so. So Show and Tell, the opponent can put into play like nasty stuff. But I also most likely don't have infinite time, so I'll have to think a little bit about what to do. I feel like I should cast this Brainstorm right now. Exactly for partially this reason. So question is, do I hang on to the Petal in case my opponent decides to crack? I actually don't hate that idea. Bobble looks kind of bad, though. Okay, I can get rid of Bobble, fetch. Am I going to go for another island? Okay, well, let's go for basic island, ponder. Still looking for a soul land, even though I kind of not sure I played that optimally. At this stage, will my opponent cycle Bobble? No, they're going to crack the map, so these cards are probably bad. All right. I really don't know about the show until next turn. Trying to think about what that deck is running. Let me just do a quick search here. Because maybe I'm too slow if I have to go sneak attack pass. Legacy. It's all the way down to some kind of niche deck at the moment. Let's see. Rishadan pass, super annoying. I guess I don't know what's going on here. Rishadan Port is not exactly what I was... Okay, I think I failed to find it. It's probably listed under something unintuitive. So, let's see. So I get tapped down here. That's what happens. Soul Land is quite strong, so now I can go Tarn, play Bauble, because why not? Let's see if my opponent sacrifices the Bauble end of turn here. They don't. They were kind of playing around my pedal. They're playing around Omniscient shenanigans, I believe. Let's see what this Saga can do. The problem is, actually... Huh. Yeah, the problem is my opponent plays probably 4 Pithing Needles, so I didn't think this through. Let's go for Volcanic Island here. Here's Mox Diamond, so my opponent is accelerating their game plan a little bit here. Sylvan Library, totally fine. I'm really not sure what I'm playing against. Wasteland is annoying. Let's sacrifice there. Worth noting is Veil of Summer is a card that plays around Vexing Bauble. Yeah, I'm not sure I played this perfectly. Now I go Tarn pass. Okay, so wonder what's in that deck. Is it just a normal lands deck? Maybe it's just normal lands deck. It is a normal lands deck. I think I should have realized that before. The port should have given it away. The Vexing Bauble, I actually don't know if that's a like one-of for Saga or something else. Let's see. Life from the Loam on those boys. That is fine. So right now, Show and Tell Emrakul is bad against Caracas and also Crop Rotation for the same reason. But Sneak Attack Emrakul is not exactly ideal either. Super tough. So let's see. We go to the upkeep. Then my opponent has Rishadan Port shenanigans. Tapping an island. That works. Sure. Draw. The One Ring. The One Ring is probably pretty strong. So if I go... I think I'm supposed to fetch out my basic here. Otherwise, I'm just getting wastelanded. Let's fetch out the basic. And then go One Ring. Wow, this game is super tough. The Bauble really did something bad for me here. So now I'm trying to set up a situation where... Yeah, the thing is, I don't have access to green mana. I want to use my Veil to kind of make Vexing Bauble inconsequential, because that's my only way to have backup against a crop rotation. Until that happens, I'm under a waste lock, and the opponent will start to make constructs momentarily. What a game to start off the day. I definitely should have had my morning coffee before this one. So I think me not realizing what I was playing against definitely hurt me, because I was scared to cast the card Show and Tell because of Vexing Bauble, Saga, Yavimaya kind of looking like an Eldrazi type deck. But maybe that was flawed logic to begin with, because those decks moved away from Primeval Titan a long time ago. Okay. Here's another Wasteland that thankfully doesn't do anything. My opponent will have Rishadan Port to hold down, I guess. Okay, so if my opponent holds down my mana base here, my opponent cannot make a token. That is somewhat useful for me. Let's see what they go for. Token or tap down? I think they have to tap down the mountain, which is, I guess, kind of good for me, because then I'm not getting killed. Mountain getting tapped here. That's fine. I'll lose a life. Let's see. Can we do anything meaningful? Bauble is super annoying against Omniscience, but this can't be countered, so maybe I just did it. Let's see. Draw? Did we do it? So let's see. Land. Show and Tell. Omniscience. Emrakul can't get countered. Let's see what the opponent puts into play here. Okay, so Emrakul. That is a pretty neat interaction here. Emrakul beating Vexing Bauble. So let's see. I guess no. Now it doesn't make any sense, right? Because the next thing I do will get countered. And I already played my land, so let's take my extra turn here. Looks like my opponent has access to some Karaka shenanigans, but that's not really going to work. I'm going to keep attacking here, keep playing it out for the time walk. So my opponent needs something like Sage of the Omniscience, crop rotation, Karakas the Emrakul. Yeah. Okay, so my opponent can do stuff here. I'm going to lose 2 life here, go to 12. Worth noting is right now I have Heartcast Force of Will up. And if I play this land out, lots of stuff will get better for me. Maybe I'm supposed to do that. Maybe I'm supposed to go 2 colorless. Let's see if this pays off. Veil. And then I can kind of play my stuff here. My stuff is unlocked. Sneak attack. Pedal. Brainstorm. Maybe I should actually draw here in response. Draw. Put sneak attack back. Put land back. Cast Omniscience. Cast Atraxa. So pretty cool that Veil is a way to play around Vexing Bauble. Draw a bunch of cards. Another Atraxa. Force. Land. Pedal. Sneak. Sorcery. Bunch of types here. Yeah. So let's put those guys in the hand. More sneak. So now I guess I can just move to attack. Yeah, let's attack. Probably should have sneaked the tracks into play thinking about it. Let's see what the opponent has in store here. Crop rotation. 0 mana, nope. Okay, so we took that game despite it took a while for me. Let me put it that way. I don't think Veil of Summer is good. I think it was randomly good there. So I have 4 bad cards here, I'll say. The 2 Veils and 2 Baubles are not anything to write home about. I really like the Maguses. So the problem is, well, the question is rather, what are my next 2 cards that I want? Brotherhood's End is a way to clear some Saga tokens, Mox Diamond, stuff like that might come in handy. Double red is tough, though. A Braid is a way to, you know, kill a Sphere Resistance, kill a Mox. Yeah, I actually think I want to go with a couple of Braids here. And, yeah, just try and run it back and hopefully capitalize on the fact that my stuff just lines up pretty well against that deck, especially if I identify that I'm playing against lands. That definitely helps. Okay, pretty cool hand here. I have turn 2 Show and Tell. I play around Wasteland and Port turn 1. Show and Tell Omniscience, and then I can kind of go nuts from there. So cards like Sphere Resistance are annoying, because that card gets around, you know, the whole Omniscience being a free roll. It looks like Sphere Resistance to me. Vexing Bauble. Okay, that also works. That's actually quite annoying against my hand. Looks like I'm... Okay, Sneak Attack is not a bad draw. If I can Show and Tell Sneak Attack into play, from there, you know, I have a lot of good draws. Let's see. Let's see. My opponent is also putting on a reasonable amount of pressure here with Ursa Saga. The Mox Diamond start is definitely good. Okay, so I guess none of that stuff. That's kind of good for me. The thing about putting Sneak Attack into play before having the creature is that it can die to something like the Seiju, which is obviously not ideal, but maybe worth it. I'm trying to think about what to do with this land. So I could go and get Thundering, whatever it's called, the Surveil land. Give myself a little bit of selection, trying to find Emrakul. Actually, Emrakul wins the game on the spot because of Show and Tell Omniscience Emrakul. So I'm actually willing to go for the Surveil land here, even though it could make my life a bit harder down the road. So let's see. Here's a Traxa, which, funnily enough, is great with Sneak, so I think I keep it for that reason. I actually don't know what's going to happen here. Let's see. I'm going to get Wastelanded here. Okay. So my opponent is on that Loam plane. I like that play, actually. So let's see. Should I go Fetch, Island, Ponder? Yeah, I think I should. Okay, let's look for more lands. I mean, technically that is a land, but it's not a land that casts or activates Sneak Attack, rather. So I don't think I can keep these. The Brainstorm is tempting, but the 2 other cards are bad, so let's go for this. The opponent's doing a really good job disrupting my development here, which is more or less that deck's only, you know, line of defense. Ooh, Disruptor Flute is getting sideboarded in. Let's see what the opponent tutors up here. I mean, Expedition Map, Needle Sneak, pretty sweet. The opponent is really doing a good job here. Oh, Needling the One Ring. Okay, fair enough. That works. So what does that tell us? Unclear. My opponent starts looping some more stuff with Loam. Makes a lot of sense. Did we do it? Did we do it? Let's see. Show and Tell. Emrakul, a pretty nice draw, I must say. So now My opponent needs some kind of trigger, so I don't have priority to cast the Emrakul. Let's see. Here's Emrakul. And it looks like my opponent is out of gas here. Opponent draws a card in response. That's totally fine. That unlocks my Omniscience, so really not a problem. The Emrakul being uncounterable is actually insane. Good game, opponent. So, Vexing Bauble is good against Omniscience, but Emrakul. So, yeah, pretty nice run out here. I can't complain. It was looking grim at several points, both in Game 1 and Game 2. Yeah, but I think this is, if you're not playing against, Force of Will and Wastelands and Daze and Pyroblast, like all of that stuff, I feel like this deck can just run away with a bunch of games. Let's see if we can continue that, or it was just, the famous last words. All right, next up, match 2. Okay, round 2, and look at this beautiful hand. I remember when I used to play at the local game store, you would have people go like, "Oh yeah, if only I had a land." Like when they saw an opener, it was just kind of cool. Kind of a cool memory that, well, turns out if you have a good land spell ratio, your hand is good. So what do we think about this hand? I'd probably put back the Veil, like playing an unknown matchup, awkward for the mana, this and that. This looks like a hand that is has to cross its fingers that nothing bad happens. And here's a Caravan of Souls naming Eldrazi. So let's see. In the deck tech, I basically said that I wanted to see this matchup. So let's see if that's true. City of Traders is a good draw. If I go turn 1 Tarn, I would. Maybe I'm just supposed to play slow all the way and actually get to have the sneak attack and play, not get Wasteland and all that jazz. Okay, I'm actually going to play Tarn Pass. Maybe I should have played Island Pass. Is there any way I'm cracking this for a Surveil land against a deck that has Wasteland in it? The opponent now has 3 mana. I think... So the opponent could have gone, I have Ugin, Mox Diamond, Thought-Knot Seer, and then I want to Brainstorm, right? So maybe that was the bad logic, that if that was the case, I was supposed to have the island. Let's see if I have time for the plan I'm trying to execute here, which is play around Wasteland all the way. So now I think Brainstorm Fetch is quite strong. Cool thing is, right now my opponent does not know what is going on, which is an advantage for sure. In the perfect world, my opponent, develops a board, inconsequential for what's going on, not that fast of a clock. Then I go Brainstorm, find a Petal, and a Sneak Emrakul next turn. Let's see. Blast Zone I don't care about, but now my opponent can play Thought-Knot Seer, which is the best card possible. Thought-Knot Seer I would have to respond to for sure. So, let's see. That is definitely some good cards. So maybe I go Hide Emrakul, Hide Sneak. Then I play... Nope. Let's see. Does that even work? Yeah. Okay, well, let's go Hide Emrakul, Hide Sneak Attack. I will take a damage. The opponent will take my ring most likely. And then I can go City of Traders, Petal, develop the sneak attack without sacking the Tarn, so I don't have to shuffle my deck. And that is hopefully good enough. Let's see. Opponent attacks me to 16. It's actually interesting if this is going to be enough. Next turn, I'm getting attacked for at least 6. The opponent can develop more stuff. The opponent can keep around stuff against the Annihilator trigger. So the beautiful thing about this is I don't think I have a better play, so Let's see. City of Traders, colorless, red, sneak attack. Keeping the card on top, very important. That also means that if my opponent wastelands my Scalding Tarn, I have to accept that. So, I'm not sure about this situation. Funnily enough, in this situation, I think Atraxa would have been better than Emrakul, but maybe that's not true. Let's see. Let's say my opponent can develop like 4 permanents this turn. Like the Eldrazi spawn tokens are perfectly fine stuff to sacrifice. I actually think I'm in trouble here. What if the opponent plays like 2 things? Then I go to 14, attack down to 8. I have to fetch. Yeah, then I just die next turn. I actually think I'm losing this game. Ancient Tomb is a card that does not necessarily help me here. Like 18 or 20 is kind of the same. So basically, if my opponent plays a lot of stuff, I have to fetch end of turn for the Surveil lane and hope to, hit some stuff like Atraxa into Emrakul type thing. Thought-Knot Seer is annoying. Can't do anything about it. My opponent can take the bauble. I get pinged. The opponent now has 6 bad permanents. They can keep around 2 Thought-Knot Seers and attack for lethal next turn. So Emrakul is not going to cut it, interestingly enough. Okay. Okay. It was also kind of slow. I had to hide my stuff on top. Thought-Knot Seer was very strong here, but yeah, it's eye-opening for sure. No pun intended, but it's eye-opening that deck can just laugh at Emrakul. So let's see. I'm now at 8 life. Opponent, yeah, as I said, easily all of those stuff are disposable, and then I lose to the Thought-Knot Seer, so now I have to get lucky. The opponent's considering developing more stuff. Makes a lot of sense. Now I need to hit Atraxa exactly. Gristlebrain is not going to do it because I go to 7 here. Well, Gristlebrain might do it because I gain some life and then I draw cards, I guess. Mm-hmm. We definitely take that. All right, let's see if we can do it. Look at the top 10. Good old Emrakul is here. Emrakul, One Ring, Sneak Attack, Ponder, Brainstorm, Land. Wow, this deck has a lot of types. Yeah, sure. Done. Colorless. Fetch a Volcanic. Activate Sneaky Boy, Emrakul, and let's see. Let us see. Is there something about Kozilek's command I was supposed to think about? I'm actually not sure. Looks like 22 in the air is going to be enough. I also buy back life here, which is a little bit relevant. Let's see what the opponent's thinking about here. I'm actually not sure what the opponent can have here. I'm not going to say the opponent can't have anything, so I'm just going to wait and see. Send my guys to the red zone and hope for the best. If something weird happens, I can brainstorm in response, looking 3 deep for Force of Will. Looks like since we got to the Annihilator trigger, it's over. Okay, very lucky. So this is... I mean, I think it's kind of a cool thing that I'm playing to my outs, right? and you hit it because you know what you need to get to win the game. And the more times you know what you need to win the game, the more times you can make the proper choice, like what am I surveilling for, etc. So basically I set myself up to get lucky, if that makes sense. Yeah, it looks like the sideboard is pretty well constructed because I have 2 Consigned Memories and I can add, 2 Magus of the Moon and cut the anti-blue cards. That works. The opponent might have Vexing Bauble, which, again, it's good against Omniscience Atraxa. It's fine against my pedals. It doesn't do anything against good old Emrakul. So, pretty standard stuff here, I would imagine. The opponent has Disruptor Flutes, which can be annoying. Am I supposed to care about the flutes? Maybe actually I want a Braid instead of Magus on the draw here. Let's see, Magus of the Moon. Just seem like my opponent will have 3 mana before me, so they might already be on board at that point. So I'm actually on the draw going to go for Braids, and then probably on the play go for Magus because of basically speed issues. And yeah, where I see my mana development compared to the opponent's mana development. Okay, this hand is quite cool. There's something about Vexing Bauble, but I'm not sure I can think about that too much. There's also something about Cavern of Souls, so let's see. Cool thing is, with Consign, I can counter my opponent's Thought-Knot Seer's ETB. Let's say they cast Uncounterable Thought-Knot Seer on that turn. So that's not bad. And funnily enough, when I cast this Show and Tell on turn 2, hopefully, I'll have to think about whether to put in Omniscience to go Gristlebrand or to put in just Gristlebrand right away. Hit that Heralds. Hit that Heralds the end. That's totally fine. Some of the logic I'll be applying is basically, did my opponent have a chance to go Vexing Bauble? And now, speaking of chance, I have turn 1 Show and Tell. Oh boy. Turn 1 Show and Tell. I'm actually going to go Gristlebrand because of Thought-Knot Seer. No, wait a minute. I can counter that with my build my own Stifle. I'm going to do it. But I'm not going to love it. Don't put Bauble. Don't put a Bauble into play. Okay, Grim Monolith. You got it. So, Gristlebrand, draw. Okay. That was easy. Pretty smooth sailing here. Turn 1 Show and Tell, Omniscience, Gristlebrand, Emrakul. I mean, that is the dream when you play a deck like this. So far, we're living the dream over here. Let's see if that continues. Don't go anywhere. Okay, round 3. I'm currently 2-0 with good old Sneak and Show. And this hand is cool. This hand can bridge into a turn 2 One Ring. I feel like I should just go basic here. Maybe that's too weak. No, that's okay. Let me go basic island here. That's totally fine. And let's see. It's always tricky when you're resolving Ponders because you don't really know what you need. Well, you can actually... Well, with this deck, I guess you're looking for combo pieces, and especially not those cards, so... So now, basically, I could play out the Petal, which would tip off my opponent. So I actually think I prefer my opponent not knowing what's going on. With that being said, I don't blame anybody for playing out that Petal. It's basically whether you think Vexing Bauble is a realistic card to face. Sometimes it is. There's also, like, if let's say there's some, like back in the day, Inquisition of Kozilek was a card. So there's also something about that. Let's say Grixis Control or some whatever was 15% of the metagame and they played 2 Inquisitions. Then obviously we need to play it out, so Inquisition would fizzle here. So you basically need a reason to play it and reason to not play it. Okay, so now I guess I just try and cast the One Ring. I don't expect it to resolve, but it would obviously be quite awesome if it did. If it does, I'm drawing right away. Playing a little bit around some stuff. Okay, so I'm playing against Control. I guess Prismatic Vista into Island basically says, like, Jeskai Control. So that is an interesting matchup. I think what I'm going to do now is just slam another One Ring. That card works very well against that deck. Huh. Pedal. I guess I'll just play the pedal. It doesn't really hurt me. Here I'll fetch. I can go for, I don't know, basic mountain maybe? Play another ring. So worth mentioning is that deck is a Narset deck, so this might not be as effective. I will draw a card on... do I do it now? Is there any chance I'm drawing a cantrip, am I casting it? I don't think so. So now I'm gonna draw a card. Brainstorm is a good one, because if I get... No, maybe it's not. It's actually not a good card, because if my opponent does not play Narset right now, I feel like I'm winning the game quite handily. So Brainstorm is actually not a card that helps me at all. Because it's not any form of, follow-up to my opponent's best play. Yep, there Narset is. Yeah, now I'm in big trouble if my opponent has one more counter. Ponder is not scary. I'm going to lose a little bit of life, but I can draw one extra card on my opponent's turn while taking a bunch of damage. Let's see. Omniscience. I think I'm supposed to fetch, crack, pedal, and play sneak attack. Not the best. Let's play sneak attack. Sneak attack resolves, which I imagine is very good for me. My opponent knows that if I had a creature, it would have tapped the tomb, so kind of still looking. I can draw one extra card now, or, on this half of the turn cycle, but get a little deeper. And I'm just looking for one of my 8 creatures, basically. Nothing else really matters at this point. See what Narset has to say about that. The cool thing is that Emrakul is very tough to answer and kind of whacks my opponent's board. Atraxa will draw into more stuff without actually drawing, but putting more stuff into my hand. So I'm down to those kind of creatures. Dress Down is actually huge here for the opponent because that allows them to circumvent an Atraxa ETB. And even, Emrakul, Annihilator. So let's see. That creature gains haste. I assume it removes haste as well. So now, what do I do about that card? Dress Down is incredibly annoying here. I'm not sure I can just wait around. Not entirely sure I can wait around. The thing is, my opponent just has to basically stall here. Oh, Days Undoing. Okay. Maybe that's not that bad for me. So, unfortunately, that means that I already have drawn my card, so Ring doesn't work here, but that's just how it goes. Vexing Bauble, lose a life. So, cycling Vexing Bauble is on the opponent's turn is better than... it's better than activating Ring, so I guess let's play Vexing Bauble here. Could be annoying for the opponent, who knows? Maybe this is 1-mana Hymn to Torak. Yeah, I mean, I'll pass after this. The Show and Tell doesn't do anything. My draw is jammed. My opponent has a fresh hand here, and they're looking to finish me off before I spike creatures. Holding up Volcanic to cycle my Bauble, holding up Mountain to activate Sneak Attack if I'm lucky. This might get forced, though, and then that doesn't really matter too much. Okay, it gets forced. This is basically the opponent saying, if that card is in play, all forces are, shut off, and I don't want that because I actually want to have those counterspells available. I'm actually not sure if that deck has any answers for Sneak Attack. Maybe it has Wrath of the Skies in it. Wrath of the Skies is... Teferi is a good one. Okay, so there's definitely some stuff. Here's Teferi. Speaking of, can I draw anything here? I can actually spike a Force of Will, so might as well try it. If I have a Force of Will here, I counter it. If I don't, I would have drawn anyway, looking for a creature. So now the opponent can bounce Sneak Attack. Super annoying. Then I lose 2 life. Then I can try and replay the Sneak Attack. But since my opponent countered the Bauble, Force of Will is back on. So super annoying situation, and time is definitely running out for this Sneak Attack deck here. I don't think my opponent can... Yeah, exactly. My opponent cannot take that risk. So let's see. Draw. Yeah, I have one more shot at it, actually. I have one more shot at it. End of turn. Drawing a card. If that is a monster, I upkeep. I go to 4. Then I can Ancient Tomb. Yeah, sure. So if my opponent has nothing here, I can maybe do something. That is not what I was looking for. Go to 4 life. And Petal is not gonna do it. Okay, so kind of got destroyed here by Control. Against Control, I would love some more, I guess, my mana to not be an issue and some Pyroblasts. Interestingly enough, I need to find some cuts here. And that actually could be Lotus Petal. The thing about Lotus Petal is it's speed, but against a Force of Will deck, the speed is not as important because you don't want to play Charbelcher. You want to play, you know, Slow and Steady wins the race, percent back-to-back Haymaker, have Pyroblast backup, have Veil backup, stuff like that. So swapping my petals for more interaction is cool. Worth noting is it shuts off my own forces, but I think that's reasonable. My opponent can't cast their, I don't know, 6 or 7 forces. I think I'm in a good spot. It's like the classic matchup, except these days the deck has, you know, awesome Planeswalkers that are great against me. So, yeah, definitely a tough matchup. Maybe I should try Jeskai Control next. I think it's cool. I like the basic lands. I like the Narsets. I like the, you know, the win con being 4th Ealingas. Kind of smooth. Sometimes great, sometimes good, but kind of a serviceable win con. I love the Wrath of the Skies. So, yeah, definitely some cool stuff. So this hand has turn 2 Show and Tell, must counter, and it has backup for that, which I am going to go for. Ideally, I draw another blue card, so I have Show and Tell with backup turn 2. If that doesn't work for some reason, I have turn 3 another Show and Tell. Getting Gristlebrand into play is definitely very, very strong. Opponent on the mold is 6, which makes them more likely to find a playable hand, obviously less likely to produce double force. So, yeah, pretty happy with that overall. So I can go Island Go. This doesn't really look like something that's going to explode in the opponent's face turn 2. Card like Flusterstorm would be the worst. I actually did not study the decks from 4 Seasons enough, but I know that Jeskai Control did well in the tournament. I should have done that, I guess. Let's see, not a blue card, so I'm kind of a little bit of all in here. I lose to Pyroblast plus Force of Will. Unclear if I'm supposed to let my opponent have another turn. I don't think so. I'm actually going to power it through here. Let's see. My opponent also has a force. I'm in trouble. They don't have a force, so I put into play Gristlebrand. Let's see what my opponent puts into play. That deck might have a Caracas, who knows? Dress Down, that's cool. So, Dress Down works. And now it dies. I mean, I could draw 7 now. Not sure what the downside is. I have to discard 2 cards. That's more or less it, right? What if I wait? Is there anything the opponent can do on upkeep? I don't think so. I'm gonna let my opponent get the turn here, and I'm gonna press on the Gristlebrand. Let's see if I get punished here. Can't really see what that would be though. Okay, so now I let my opponent take their turn. I found my force. My opponent has something like a plow. I'm just gonna fight over it. Yeah, so counter. Pitch Atraxa if my opponent counters. I'm sure I'll be fine. This is kind of the cool thing about resolving stuff like Griselbrand, Atraxa, stuff like that. Then you're kind of playing with house money when it comes to countering stuff. Ponder, very acceptable. So since I don't have pedal, this is something interesting. I have pedals on my sideboard, so first main phase at activating Griselbrand is not as potent, right? I think I might as well get my hit in here. Draw another Atraxa, not exciting. Attack, I think I'm just going to develop a sneak attack, actually. Sacrifice, basic, go to 13, cast sneak attack, and then I have Atraxa and Emrakul next turn. I'm not really in a hurry here. My opponent taps out for 3 mana walker. I will, activate Griselbrand, so I could draw 7 here in response, and probably should. I go to 6. Any Force of Wills? Nope. So I go back up to 13. And now Dress Down is a card that lets my opponent survive. Because it removes haste. Maybe I can do some good timing, like play land first, and then respond to the Dress Down, sneaking in another Atraxa. Something along those lines. Let's see if I ever even get that chance. I love my opponent's persistence here. Playing to the situation that I have 0 creatures to put into play. That's cool. The opponent keeps the card. Tameo. You got it. So now I go Emrakul and Atraxa. Preferably I go Emrakul first. Yeah, I think I should just go Emrakul. Let's see. Play land. I don't really want to show 10 cards of my deck here. Emrakul. And attack for lethal. Should I play out the Bauble? That's actually one of the cards I don't want to show my opponent. So now I've won the game. I'm just trying to think if there's anything weird. I think as long as I have a stop here, can't get solituded, and then I can sneak in another Emrakul if my opponent randomly has Solitude here. Okay, so that hand got the job done. I got kind of scared for a second with the pitching the second show and tell to counter my opponent's Pyroblast. Yeah, I don't think there's anything to say here. I have all my anti-counter stuff. I have all my 10 threats. Mana base is most likely not getting touched, but maybe that's a back-to-basics deck. Not against me, I guess. Yeah, not much to say. My sideboard is not good, so we run it back. Game 3 against Jeskai. This hand looks like something that doesn't do anything right now, but has good potential between, cantripping, having a carpet, and some stuff whenever I find a show and tell or sneak attack. No backup, though. Island Pass is maybe like represents something like Spell Pierce. Okay, I really like that draw. Force of Will. So let's cast Ponder. The thing about these cards is it's not green mana for carpet. I already have my fatty. Bauble is decent, but I'm actually going to shuffle these. Ancient Tomb, most likely not a good draw unless my opponent deals with the carpet. It's always kind of a weird situation. Let's see. So my opponent went turn 1 Island, turn 2 Volcanic, so that tells me they don't have Pyroblast right now. And as I say that, I draw Show and Tell, so I guess I should put my money where my mouth is. Show and Tell with 1 backup. My opponent will keep any hand with Force of Will. If my opponent has double backup, it is what it is, so I think I'm supposed to go for it here. Otherwise, we get into a territory where Narset or Teferi joins the party. Okay, weird. Well played by my opponent here, because maybe they're thinking, I don't need Pyroblast turn 1, so I'm going to let my opponent think I don't have it. Or they just drew it. Like, I couldn't tell. So I will force pitching Omniscience here, but this is very good for the opponent. Once again, if they have the Force, I'm dead. Well, I'm not dead, but it's going to be very tough for me. They don't. I am in the driver's seat. So yeah, that works. So funnily enough, we're in a situation where if my opponent develops 2 more islands, hardcasting Gristlebrand is not a 0%er. So let's see, 3rd island. Yeah, that's the dream. Double counter backup and Narset. That's how you beat Sneak and Show, for sure. Now I need to natural draw my green source. Opponent finds a Ponder, very acceptable. I need to find my green source. I don't. I find a Show and Tell. Wow. Well. I mean, let's try Show and Tell. The thing is, Gristlebrand does not draw cards, so it's just like a lifelinker until I can attack Narset. So right now I'm basically hoping my opponent does not find anything to deal with the Gristlebrand. If my opponent just finds a random Swords to Plowshares, this is not a good situation for me. I will actually pay 7 life to draw 1 card in response if that happens, which is quite kind of funny to think about. Yeah, I can't say I like my chances. My opponent gets to look 4 deep here with Narset and 3 with Ponder. And then it's kind of up to how you sideboard it. If my opponent has a perfect sideboard plan, Swords to Plowshares is not a good card against this deck. Between, you know, Emrakul can't get targeted, Gristlebrand or Atraxa already, you know, would have drawn me cards, all of that jazz, so. That is a Swords to Plowshares. Okay, yeah, I mean, that is brutality. Definitely works. So what's the dream here? The dream is I activate my Gristlebrand, I draw Pyroblast, I kill the Narset, draw 7 more. That's the dream, I guess. Because I'm exactly at 15. Super funny run out here. Let's see if it comes to fruition. So Force of Will or Pyroblast is what I want on top of my deck here. The opponent keeps the cards on Ponder. I don't like my chances. The opponent obviously looking to sculpt a little bit so they don't lose to a single interactive spell. That's why they play their Ponder first. I like that a lot. No reason to play the Plow, get forced, and then look silly with the Ponder, if the Ponder actually was able to find, you know, a Pyroblast or Force. So I like the order here. And obviously the opponent liked what they found, keeping the Ponder. So at least they like the top card. Ponder with a fetch line is awesome when you go take the best of the 3 and then fetch away the rest. Then it's like 1 mana impulse type thing. I really like that mode. The bad Ponder, so when you have to, you know, you want the good one, but then there's 2 bad ones following it. Basic Island is interesting. My opponent's hedging a little bit against some non-basic land hate here. Maybe this is time for another cantrip before actually going for the Plow. No, it's not. I'm going to draw 1 card here for the small cost of 7 life. Honor the draw. And Gristlebrand hits the bin. So funnily enough, my one-off Gristlebrand here was terrible compared to Emrakul and Atraxa, which are 7. So a little bit of variance there. Sometimes Gristlebrand is obviously better, so that's why we play it. And there's the Pyroblast, which is incredibly funny. So this is a card I have to fire off now because I want to fire off cantrips. Pyroblasting the Narset. Looking to unlock my hand here. What can my opponent do about that? Hopefully nothing. I'll say that. Is this a Hydroblast? That'd be brutal. Hopefully just a Brainstorm in response. Don't Hydro me, bro. Okay. So now I have to play the worst Ponder in history, trying to rearrange the top 3 of my deck. Okay, I actually like getting the carpet into play. My opponent has a lot of islands in play, so now I'm gonna skip my basically. Yeah, put the carpet into play next turn, and then the theory is from there I can kind of hard cast. I guess no, it doesn't work anymore because Crystal Brain is the only one that's hard castable. Days Undoing. Okay, opponent. I see. All right, I have seen enough here. It was a cool match. It really showed I put pressure on early. If my opponent can stave off that, then a card like Narset is brutal. So really pretty textbook here against the control deck, and the control deck is loaded up with Pyroblast and Hydroblast, and both of those are awesome against my deck. So I think we kind of got what we came for. I'm trying to remember what round 1 was against this tournament. What did I play against round 1? Let's see. Play against lands. So yeah, it makes sense. The non-Force of Will decks we were able to beat, and the Force of Will deck loaded with Blast we were not able to beat. So nothing really new under the sun here. The more the opposing decks reminds me of Delver, the worse the matchup is, I'll say. So if you can keep queuing into some stuff like the green-based decks, some creature toolbox decks, and whatever, I think this deck is a great choice. If you play against a little bit too many Pyroblasts, Hydroblast, Dazes, Forces, stuff like that, hand disruption, then it can get kind of iffy. But it was cool to play. That's gonna do it for today's video. I really enjoyed playing. Just a lot of legacy decks back to back. It just like kind of dig into the format and really get in depth, try some different strategies that are doing well, and just growing stronger day by day. And speaking of day by day, I will be uploading again tomorrow, so I hope you'll be back on the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.